In the high-stakes world of professional tennis, some players are defined by their elegance, others by their tactical precision. But then, there is Aryna Sabalenka. To watch Sabalenka play is to witness a force of nature. She doesn't just hit the ball, she attacks it. She doesn't just play a match, she wages a war of attrition. Known globally as the Tiger, a nickname reflected in the tattoo on her left arm, Sabalenka's journey is one of the most compelling narratives in modern sports. It is a story of raw, unbridled power, but more importantly, it is a story of profound loss, a haunting promise, and a psychological battle that nearly ended her career before it truly began. For years, the tennis world saw the flashes of brilliance, the 120-mile-per-hour serves, and the forehands that seemed to defy the laws of physics. But they also saw the tears. They saw the collapses. They saw a young woman burdened by a weight that few could understand. Today, we dive deep into the life of the girl from Minsk, who promised her father she would conquer the world, the champion who stared into the abyss of failure and refused to blink, and the woman who finally silenced the doubters to become the undisputed queen of the court. Aryna Sabalenka was born on May 5, 1998, in Minsk, Belarus. Growing up in a country with a disciplined but rigorous sports culture, Aryna was destined for an athletic life. Her father, Sergei Sabalenka, was a professional ice hockey player, and it was from him that Aryna inherited her physical stature and her competitive fire. The story goes that they were driving together one day when they passed some tennis courts. Sergei decided to take her there on a whim. From the moment she picked up a racket at the age of 6, the connection was instantaneous. However, her early years were far from a fairy tale of instant success. Unlike many modern prodigies who dominate the junior circuits, Sabalenka was a late bloomer. In her hometown of Minsk, she struggled initially. She played 5 ITF tournaments in her early teens and failed to win a single match. To the outside world, she was just another powerful girl with a high-risk game that lacked control. But Sergei saw something else. He saw a fighter. He became her rock, her primary motivator, and the person who taught her that in sports, as in life, you have to fight for every inch. It was during these formative years that the Tiger persona began to take shape. Aryna wasn't interested in dinks or lobs. She wanted to overpower her opponents. This aggressive style was a double-edged sword. When it worked, she looked unbeatable. When it didn't, she was her own worst enemy. But Sergei never wavered. He instilled in her a dream that would define her life: to win multiple Grand Slam titles and reach the world #1 ranking before the age of 25. It was a bold, perhaps even audacious goal for a girl who was still struggling to win local tournaments. But it became the North Star for everything she did. The tennis world first truly took notice of Sabalenka in 2017. At just 19 years old, she led the Belarusian Fed Cup team to its first ever final. Playing in front of a home crowd in Minsk against a powerful United States team, Sabalenka showed the world what she was capable of. She defeated reigning US Open champion Sloane Stephens in a thrilling match that sent the stadium into a frenzy. Although Belarus ultimately lost the final in a deciding doubles match, Sabalenka had arrived. She was no longer a prospect, she was a threat. By 2018 and 2019, she was climbing the rankings at a blistering pace. She won her first WTA titles in New Haven and Wuhan, breaking into the top 10. She was young, charismatic, and played with an intensity that was infectious. But then, in November 2019, the world she had built with her father came crashing down. Sergei Sabalenka passed away suddenly at the age of 43 due to complications from meningitis. The loss was catastrophic. Sergei wasn't just her father. He was the architect of her dream. He was the one who believed in her when no one else did. Suddenly, the promise they had made together felt like a crushing weight. Aryna was 21 years old, grieving, and now carrying the sole responsibility of fulfilling a pact that was supposed to be a shared victory. She continued to play, driven by a desperate need to honor his memory, but the joy was gone. Every loss felt like a betrayal of his legacy. Every win was bittersweet, because he wasn't there to see it. As the calendar turned to 2022, the pressure of the promise and the unresolved grief began to manifest in the most public and painful way possible. Aryna Sabalenka, one of the best players in the world, developed the yips. In tennis, this usually affects the serve, the one part of the game where a player has total control. For Aryna, the control vanished. In her opening match of the 2022 season in Adelaide, she hit 18 double faults. In her next match, she hit 21. She was crying on the court, unable to even toss the ball correctly. It was a psychological meltdown captured in high definition for the world to see. Commentators were baffled, and opponents felt a mix of pity and opportunism. She was the world number 2, yet she couldn't perform the most basic stroke in the game. This was the lowest point of her career. She considered quitting. She felt she was a disgrace to her father's memory. The harder she tried to fix it, the worse it got. The tiger was caged by her own mind. She would later describe this period as a living nightmare, where she felt completely alone despite being surrounded by thousands of fans. But it was in this darkness that the true character of Aryna Sabalenka was forged. Instead of walking away, Sabalenka decided to deconstruct herself. She realized that her raw power was no longer enough. She needed a system. She stopped working with her longtime sports psychologist, deciding she needed to take personal responsibility for her mental state. She hired a biomechanics specialist to rebuild her serve from the ground up, changing the toss and the rhythm. But the biggest change was internal. She began to separate her identity as a person from her results as a tennis player. She realized that her father loved her for who she was, not just for the trophies she won. This shift in perspective was revolutionary. She started to play with a relaxed intensity. She accepted that she would still make mistakes, but she no longer let those mistakes define her. The results weren't instant, but they were steady. By the end of 2022, the double faults were decreasing, and the confidence was returning. She reached the final of the WTA finals, proving to herself that she could still compete with the very best. The stage was set for a 2023 season that would change everything. The 2023 Australian Open was the moment of truth. Sabalenka arrived in Melbourne looking like a different person. She was calm, focused, and most importantly, she was having fun. She moved through the draw without dropping a set until the final, where she faced the reigning Wimbledon champion, Aryna Sabalenka. The final was a heavyweight boxing match in tennis form. Two of the biggest hitters in the game trading blows for over 2 hours. When Sabalenka took the first set, the old Sabalenka might have crumbled, but the new Aryna stayed patient. She fought back to take the second set. In the third, with the pressure at its peak, she didn't blink. On her fourth match point, she hit a powerful serve that Sabalenka couldn't handle. Aryna Sabalenka fell to the court in tears. They weren't tears of frustration this time. They were tears of pure, unadulterated relief. At 24 years old, just months before her 25th birthday, she had won her first Grand Slam title. She had kept the first half of the promise. The win in Melbourne was just the beginning. 2023 became the year of the big three in women's tennis: Iga Swiatek, Aryna Sabalenka, and Aryna Sabalenka. The rivalry between Sabalenka and Swiatek in particular became the defining story of the WTA Tour. It was a clash of styles. Swiatek's tactical movement and heavy topspin versus Sabalenka's relentless power. They met in high-stakes finals in Madrid and Stuttgart, pushing each other to new heights. Sabalenka's victory over Swiatek in the Madrid final was a masterclass in aggressive clay court tennis, proving she could win on any surface. The chase for the world #1 ranking became a season-long drama. Finally, at the 2023 US Open, the stars aligned. By reaching the final, Sabalenka guaranteed she would overtake Swiatek to become the 29th woman in history to hold the #1 ranking. She had done it. 2 Grand Slams and the #1 spot, all before she turned 25. The promise to Sergei was complete. If 2023 was about reaching the top, 2024 was about staying there. Many players struggle after winning their first major, but Sabalenka only got stronger. She returned to the Australian Open in 2024 as the defending champion and put on one of the most dominant displays in the history of the tournament. She didn't drop a single set the entire fortnight, dismantling Qin Wenjing in the final. This victory was perhaps even more significant than the first. It proved that she wasn't a one-hit wonder. It showed that her mental transformation was permanent. She had become the gold standard of consistency and power. Even when faced with new personal tragedies and the intense pressure of being the favorite, she remained unshakable. Her rivalry with Swiatek continued to evolve, with the two trading the #1 ranking back and forth. But regardless of the computer rankings, the consensus was clear. When Aryna Sabalenka is at her best, there is no one in the world who can stop her. She had become the tiger that Sergey always knew she could be. As we look at Aryna Sabalenka today, we see a champion who has transcended the sport. Her story is a blueprint for anyone facing insurmountable odds. She showed us that it's okay to cry, it's okay to fail, and it's okay to hit 20 double faults in a match, as long as you have the courage to show up the next day and try again. She fulfilled her promise to her father, but in doing so, she discovered something even more valuable: her own strength. She is no longer just Sergey's daughter, or the girl with the tiger tattoo. She is Aryna Sabalenka, a woman who conquered her own mind to conquer the world. Her legacy will be defined by her power, yes, but more so by her resilience. She taught us that a promise isn't just a goal, it's a bond that can carry you through the darkest times. And as she continues to dominate the courts of Paris, London, and New York, she does so with the knowledge that somewhere Sergey is watching, and he is super proud. The journey of the tiger is far from over. With every thunderous serve and every defiant roar, Aryna Sabalenka reminds us that greatness isn't given. It's earned through blood, sweat, and tears. She has faced the abyss and come out stronger. She has honored her past while building a brilliant future. So the next time you see her step onto the court, remember the girl from Minsk who wouldn't quit. Remember the father who drove her to the courts on a whim. And remember that no matter how many times you fall, as long as you keep fighting, your roar will eventually be heard by the entire world. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible life of Aryna Sabalenka. If you found her story as inspiring as we did, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with a fellow tennis fan, and subscribe for more epic stories from the world of sports. Who should we cover next? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep fighting for your dreams.